सलाम मेरे अजीज पंखों।
Taeyong was feeling hurt by his behavior. Maybe he doesn't feel anything for me. Maybe I misinterpreted his care. They thought with a broken. Jungkook decided to explain it to Taeyong. Miss John noticed the silence between them. That morning, when Jungkook was taking Taeyong to university, he decided to talk. Taeyong, forget about what happened today. We are friends. We don't have to make it awkward. Jungkook said and Taeyong nodded. They didn't want to lose him just because he wanted more. They started spending their time like before, but this time Taeyong was not unaware of his feeling. His every move, every word left a mark on him. Namjoon got his consciousness. In those days, Jungkook was really happy to see his friend recover, but a small part of him was also thinking about letting Tae go. Namjoon got discharged a week. He was thankful to Jungkook for taking care of his brother. Jungkook was spending as much time as he could with Taeyong. He was counting every minute. Jungkook and Taeyong was sitting in sitting area. Around 11 p.m., the night before Namjoon was discharged, Taeyong didn't know what happened. Jungkook moved to pick him phone from the side table. When Taeyong decided to turn his face, his lips landed on his temple. He didn't pull away quickly. He left his lips linger over here. Taeyong's heartbeat got faster due to his closeness. After some seconds, Jungkook moved back and went to his room. After saying goodbye, they were sitting shocked. It was the first time he had done anything more than just being friends, and it's also started accidentally. Next day, when Namjoon came to take him home, they was really happy to see his brother. When Namjoon told him to pack his stuff, reality struck him. He was going to leave that house. They was happy to see his brother, but he forget that his time with Jungkook was also ended with that. He only married him to protect me. He didn't feel anything for me. I can't ask more for him, he thought while crying. Miss John was not happy when Taeyong left. She could see the lack of peace in his son's life, but she didn't say anything. She knew that her son was going to do what he thought was right. In the way they left Jungkook place with Namjoon, Miss John asked him to take care of himself and come to meet as much as possible. They didn't even look at Jungkook. He knew that he would end up in tears. If he would see in his eyes, he would not have been able to stand the relief of being free again in his eyes. He let that tear fall when the car started moving. Namjoon didn't say anything. It thought that he must be got attached with him. They will you be fine in some days, he thought to himself. After a week, Namjoon was really worried about Taeyong. He had seen the continuous red eyes and quietness. There was not that happy soul like before. He was more quiet and empty. Didn't matter how much he tried. They was not able to remove him from his heart. Missing was not the question. He was not able to forget him for a second, and every second of his day was on his mind. He's not mine. He's not mine. Forget about him. He repeated his to himself again and again, but each time it sounds like a lie. Forgetting him was not possible for him. Living without him was becoming more and more difficult with each passing day. He didn't even call him, so that he would end up breaking himself in front of him. On the other hand, Jungkook had become more cold-hearted than before. He was continuously shouting on people, firing them from their job. Leaving him was producing an anger within him, which he was trying to take out on others. But didn't matter what he does, it doesn't dissipate. Miss John was see the anger bubbling inside me. She could see her son hurting. He is your husband. Get him back. You have right on him, religiously and socially. Miss John finally ended up saying it to him. Jungkook didn't say anything. He left from his office. He didn't want to think about his feelings right on him. The need of getting him back was already so strong. After some time, he got a call from Namjoon. After greeting him, he said worriedly, "Jungkook, do you have any idea what's wrong with him? He goes to university, spend time with me, but something is off." Jungkook took a deep breath and said, "I will come and talk to him. You don't need to worry." The thought of his crying was more than disturbing for him. He looked at the time and saw that he must be in the university at that time. He asked Jimin for the first time after Theong leaving him home and asked about the leaving time. He went to pick Tae and informed Namjoon about not bothering. Tae was surprised to see him there. "Tae, why are you here?" he said without looking in his eyes. Tae was happy about seeing him, but he also knew that this happiness was not for a long time. Jungkook strolled after seeing his behavior and said, "Sit in the car." They quickly sat in. He didn't want his anger distract toward him. Jungkook took him outside the city area. They was not worried about that. Jungkook got out and opened his door. There was no one around. Jungkook closed the door. After pulling him out, he pulled his face up so that he was looking in his eyes. His heart broke after seeing his eyes. It was the first time he was seeing his eyes that day. They were red. "You have been crying." They could not stop the tears from falling in his eyes. "Why are you worried? I'm not your responsibility anymore." Jungkook didn't say anything and kept looking in his eyes. He took a deep breath and told him to sit in the car. They left from Tae's house. They covered the whole journey in silence. Taeyong didn't say anything. He didn't want to show any more weakness. When Jungkook stopped the car in front of Namjoon's place, Taeyong quickly got out and left from the room. They fell on the bed and could not stop his tears any longer. He was lying on his front. Jungkook sighed and got out of the car. He went to Namjoon. Jungkook could not stay away from him any longer or see him sad. He decided to make everything clear. Jungkook came to the point and said, "Hyung, as you know, he is my husband. I don't want to leave him. I want to take him home with me." Namjoon looked at him deeply and then said, "Is this the reason you both were behaving so weirdly? You want to stay married?" Aaron asked and Jungkook didn't say anything. Namjoon got up with a big smile and hugged him again. "Jungkook, why didn't you tell me earlier? I could not have choice any better for Tae. You are my friend, more like a brother," he said. Jungkook was relaxed after seeing his reaction. They spent some time talking, but then Jungkook said, "Can I go to talk to him?" Namjoon agreed and told him the way. When Jungkook entered the room, they quickly got up at the sound of the door opening. His face was red due to crying. Jungkook went near his and cleared his tears. "Don't cry. It hurts me," he whispered. More tears fell from his eyes. "I love you more than my own self. I didn't want to break Namjoon Hyung's trust. I know how much you love me. If that would not have been the reason, I would not have let you go and away from me," he said with a sad smile. This time he kissed his tears away. "Really?" they asked like a baby. "Yes," he said, nodded his head and cupped his feet in his hands. He placed a peak on his lips and said, "I have talked to Hyung. You will not have to stay away from me." Taeyong hugged him and smiled. Jungkook also wrapped his arms around him and signed clean contact. "Fresh up. I want to have some words with Hyung." Jungkook said. Taeyong pulled away and quickly went to the restroom.